Okay. So Amit, we'll get started with the React. So first of all, we'll start with React basics as today is our first session. So we will see that why React, what exactly it is, what are the structure, what are the main concepts in React, and then we'll go down, right? So today will
Hmm.
be a kind of introductory session for you to be very familiar with React and उसके अंदर क्या क्या होता है basically, right?
Hmm.
So
Hmm.
first of all, we'll go on React basics. Basics. So why React and what exactly is React? So React is an open source library for building fast applications for web and mobile. ठीक है? आपको already you must be aware that there is a MVC architecture which is model, view, and controller. So React basically is a view part of this MVC architecture. So it is mainly a library. So you must be aware that Angular now is a framework, right?
Yes.
But React, if you are only talking about React is basically a library. That means
Hmm.
that React gives you freedom that if you want to use any other third party library or any other modules, you can use
Hmm.
those modules, and React is only bothered about the UI rendering, that
Hmm.
how you will make sure or how you will define the UI of your whole website. That is website, or maybe in React Native we will talk about the extensions of React as well, where we will also see कि mobile में कैसे use हो सकता है, AR VR में कैसे use हो सकता है. That is something different. So right now the whole point is कि React जो है वो library है, it is not a framework. So maybe most of the things, for example routing, is not inside it. It is not a framework, so you might have to use something else. So in React we have something called as React Router DOM, which is a different module or dependency which you have to take and use it, right? So
Hmm.
this was just to give you an idea that ki React is basically a library. Now React क्यों बना था basically? So React was built by Facebook, आपको पता होगा, and it was
Hmm.
built by an engineer named Jordan Wolke. So it is not a technical stuff, but I'm just telling you. So we need to be aware if we are talking to any other developer, we should be aware that these basic things, right? So
Hmm.
FB ने किया था इसको डेवलप अराउंड 2013 के अंदर. दे लॉन्च्ड इट एज अ ओपन सोर्स लाइब्रेरी. दैट वाज द फर्स्ट टाइम. एंड right now it is also used in Instagram, and Facebook itself is using it for its own tech. So
Hmm.
now how exactly it works? So first of all, why they thought that there is a requirement for React, we need to understand this to रियलाइज और टू अंडरस्टैंड कि यार रिएक्ट बनाया है क्यों था. जब हमारे पास HTML है, CSS है और जावास्क्रिप्ट है, उसके बाद
Hmm.
अगर हमारे पास एंगुलर आ गया था 2011 के आसपास या 2010 के अंदर एंगुलर भी लॉन्च किया था गूगल ने, तो देन व्हाट वाज द नीड फॉर रिएक्ट जिसकी वजह से रिएक्ट आया. सो आई विल गिव यू
Hmm.
an idea. So you must be aware that if there's a say, if there's a website, right? If this is a website, in
Hmm.
this website there will be different things, and say and all these elements which you can see on a web page, all these are a part of DOM, right? We call
Hmm.
it DOM,
Hmm.
document object model, right? So
Hmm.
this DOM is basically a representation of whatever is there on the website. So if it is a vanilla JavaScript, what exactly would be there? The code structure will look something like, there will be index.html, right? And
Right.
then you will have index.js, and you will have your CSS as well, right? You will have some CSS file as well, right?
Hmm.
So
Hmm.
this is basically what it is. And whenever browser, so if say you have a, you are using some browser, and if it is asking for a website or some data from a server, so
Hmm.
how does it renders it? So what it does is, so first of all, it will take the HTML,
Hmm.
and then it will take CSS, and then it will take JavaScript. This is how these three files are rendered whenever you have a
Hmm.
plain vanilla JavaScript. And that is how it is shown on the website, and your website is rendered, right?
Hmm.
Now, if you will see the distinction here between the code is based on technology. So technology means HTML is just showing the elements which are there. It is to have a uh, give a structure to the whole website. This is for the styling, and now this is for the logic, right?
Hmm.
So the partition is basically based on the technology, right? There's a different, CSS is different, JS is different. What Facebook wanted to do, so take the next page. What Facebook wanted to do is they wanted to make sure that the partition should be based on the functional components inside any website or in any web page. So if say if you are having
Hmm.
uh, different components. For example, I will take example of Facebook. In Facebook, you have this middle bar where you are getting all these. So you have different friends and they're posting something. So these are the posts from these friends, and then you have something here which is say birthday. Uh, 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 your friend is having his birthday tomorrow, or some reminder for the birthday, and then there will be some ads here, there will be something else as well, right? So the whole point is
Hmm.
what Facebook's thought, instead of thinking about uh, the different uh, technology which is uh, thinking about in terms of HTML, JavaScript, and CSS, they wanted to think in terms of components which are functional component. For example, these posts
Hmm.
is doing some kind of job. So this is one kind of component. Now, if this is
Right.
the same thing, this is one kind of component. If this is also doing the same thing, this is one kind of component. And what the
Hmm.
thought is, if we can make this one single component, and if
Hmm.
this is a reusable component, if we can reuse this, then we
Hmm.
just need to make it once, and we do not
Right.
have to make it multiple times. So this was the main idea behind
Hmm.
conceptualization of React. They thought that if this is one component which will be used every time, then this is
Hmm.
something which we will make as a component, and then we will pass some arguments like how we do it in function, and then we'll change this few of the things which we'll see later in the uh, lecture, that how that can be done and what exactly is there as a state or props. So that is something which I will park for now. But the whole idea is they wanted to make it into reusable components, and that's why they thought of uh, destructuring the whole web page in terms of components, and that is
Hmm.
the basis of React. Now
Right.
coming back to yeah, so now coming back to so now we have understood that कि structurally and in terms of thought process कि अगर हमें React में सोचना है किसी वेब पेज को डेवलप करने के लिए तो how it is different. Now
Hmm.
we will just go on कि React के और क्या क्या फायदे हैं, why exactly do we need to use React, right? So
Hmm.
the first advantage is basically that it has something called as virtual DOM.
Right.
Okay, so now what exactly is virtual DOM? So as you know, previously we have seen in this, whenever we need to render the elements on DOM, what exactly we
Hmm.
do? We have HTML, we have JavaScript, and then if you need to change, say this one element here, say if this is
Hmm.
this is heading, this is H1, right?
Hmm.
If
Hmm.
you need to change this H1, what you will do? You will give it some ID. Say you have given it some ID, say heading one. Okay, you have given
Right.
this
Right.
heading one. In JS, you in JavaScript, you will go and you will write um, document dot get element by ID, and then you will pass ID, and then you will refer this particular element in the DOM, and then you will change it, right? And then that is
Right.
how you will be able to change it. Now what
Hmm.
happens is, whenever you are directly dealing with the DOM elements,
Hmm.
these are very expensive in terms of the kind of resources which it will need. For example, if we need to process something, if we need to render a single DOM element, it is very expensive. So what React thought is, say, if I am having, one second. So if in React, what happens is, so say you have different components. So this is one, say this is
Hmm.
H1. Then we have something called as this H2, and then we have H3, right?
Hmm.
And then we can have different other elements as well in this website. So now what virtual DOM does is, or what React does by the meaning of virtual DOM, it creates a virtual DOM in terms of objects. So what React will do, React will not do any creation of or any direct calculation or direct manipulation of any of the DOM element. React will not do that. What React does is,
Hmm.
what React will do is, React will take this H1, right, and it will
Okay.
create its own object, its
Hmm.
own object, which will create something like this, which will create element something like this, right? Then there will
Hmm.
be something as H2, and it will create something like H2. It will create S3 in its own, uh, in terms of objects, it will create its own virtual DOM. And now what happens is, whenever we do any change in say H2, so
Hmm.
what happens is, there's no change in H1, there's no change in H3, there's no change in this whole thing and all the other DOM elements. So what happens is, React keeps a track of its virtual DOM. So virtual DOM, you have virtual DOM, and then
Right.
whenever there is a change,
Hmm.
it, what it does is, it will now take the virtual DOM,
Hmm.
delta of virtual DOM it will take, which will be virtual DOM current, virtual DOM current
Hmm.
minus virtual DOM. I am just writing minus, it is just for logic. I am writing it. Don't take it literally. Virtual DOM current minus virtual DOM previous. Now, what it will do is, it will see that is there any change from virtual DOM current minus virtual DOM previous. इस पूरे पेज पे कुछ भी चेंज हुआ है क्या? अगर कुछ भी चेंज नहीं हुआ, तो ये अपने डिस्प्ले करने वाले किसी एक फंक्शन को बोलेगा, कुछ भी चेंज मत करो, डू नॉट रेंडर एनीथिंग, क्योंकि चेंज कुछ हुआ ही नहीं है। भले ही किसी भी यूजर ने कुछ ना कुछ एक्टिविटी किया है, लेकिन अगर डॉम के ऊपर कुछ भी उससे लॉजिक चेंज नहीं हो रहा है, तो डू नॉट रेंडर एनीथिंग, राइट?
Hmm.
नाउ if we have just changed, say we have clicked some button and that button is changing S3, and this S3 is a state here, so what it will do is, it will check here what exactly is changing. So it will say, okay, H3 is changing, right? So what it will does is, now it will create a full DOM, from virtual DOM. It will now take, yeah, this is something which has changed, and then it will change only this one single element in the real DOM. So,
Okay.
so
Okay.
there are two advantages. One is that it does not work directly with the DOM elements. It works
Hmm.
with objects which are very fast. So
Hmm.
it is very fast in terms of calculating anything on the DOM, DOM side. That हमारा DOM का जो स्ट्रक्चर है, क्या चीज चेंज होना है, वो सारा कैलकुलेशन बहुत फास्ट हो जाता है. एंड सेकेंड एडवांटेज क्या है? सेकेंड एडवांटेज इज कि even after this, the second advantage is that only that particular element is changed जो differ करता है previous DOM से. So all the other elements H1, H3, or sorry, H1 and whatever else is there on the web page, if that is not changed, the state of those things are not changed, then only one single element will be changed. But
Hmm.
if you will see in JavaScript code, if you are doing anything, if any change is there, the whole page is rendered, right?
Right.
So there's a huge speed gain which you can get when you're working with React because of these two elements, right? So if you have, say, Facebook kind of application where you have so much of data coming in, where you, if you will start changing all the elements directly through DOM, and also if you will start rendering all of them on your website, then it will be very slow. So these are the two ways in which virtual DOM really helps to make sure that the speed of the website is really high. इसमें कोई डाउट है आपको?
नहीं, कोई डाउट नहीं है.
Okay. Now, the other thing is reusable components. So as I told you, I think we all already discussed, but in detail also we'll discuss. But the whole idea of React is that we can have, say, if we have Facebook के अंदर post वाले जो भी चीजें हैं, so we will not create different things. We will just create a UI component which will be, say, posts, and then we will pass on different props. Props are nothing but जो भी हम जैसे फंक्शन को एट्रीब्यूट्स पास करते हैं, वैसे ही विल पास प्रॉप्स टू दिस कंपोनेंट, एंड देन कंपोनेंट विल शो बाकी अलग अलग फ्रेंड्स का जो भी पोस्ट आया वो शो करेगा, राइट? सो दैट इज रिगार्डिंग रीयूजेबल कंपोनेंट. तो ये रीयूजेबल है तो फास्ट है, आपका कोड स्ट्रक्चर इज स्मॉल with this. Then the next thing is unidirectional flow of data. Ab, what do you mean by unidirectional flow of data? Do you know what is unidirectional flow of data mean? या डेटा बाइंडिंग क्या होता है पता है आपको?
हाँ, पता है. इट्स वन वे टू वे, आपका कर्ली ब्रेसेस से होता है वो. दैट आई नो.
ओके,
बनाना इन द बॉक्स.
लेकिन क्या होता है एग्जैक्टली? व्हाट इज डेटा बाइंडिंग?
डेटा बाइंडिंग मीन्स वो होता है कि आपका जो कंपोनेंट होता है उसमें आप जो डेटा शो कर रहे हो या फिर जो डेटा विजुअलाइज है इन आपका डॉम में, दैट इज कनेक्टेड टू अ मॉडल. ओके, and if something change in that model, it will be uniformly change in the wherever this model is being referred. Same vice versa.
ठीक है, तो इसका बिल्कुल सिंपल सा मैं अगर आपको बोलने के लिए बोलूं तो यू कैन से डेटा बाइंडिंग is sharing data between component and view, or view and component, right? So component और view के बीच में और view या component के बीच में कैसा data change हो रहा है वो. So अभी I will give you an idea. React, when the React is designed, React was basically designed only for one way data binding. ठीक है? But there are ways in which now in the latest version you can do some kind of there's not direct means in which you can use two-way binding, but there are ways in which you can get around and you can implement. But the whole idea of React is that they have normally in React it is basically one-way data binding principle से काम करता है ये. और वो कैसे करता है? Basically there's something called as state in React. Okay, so every component, अगर ये कोई component है आपका जो कि आपके वेबसाइट पे है, and if it is displaying something, so this is something called as state, right? Now ये जो state होता है, ये state जब change होगा, so if user has done some action, this is called as user action, यहाँ पे लिखते हैं, राइट? यहाँ पे एक यूजर ने एक एक्शन किया है, वो अगर इसको स्टेट को अगर चेंज करता है, दिस विल चेंज द स्टेट, देन what React will do is React will not ask you anything. React will just check कि ये जो स्टेट है ये पहले वाले स्टेट से अलग है क्या. अच्छा. और अगर अलग है तो वो डायरेक्टली यहाँ पे रेंडर कर देगा. इसको रेंडर कर देगा मतलब आपका जो एक्चुअल वेबसाइट है उसके ऊपर दिखा देगा उसको. अगर यहाँ पे आपका वैल्यू 2 था, आपने वो यूजर ने एक बटन बना रखा है और दिस बटन का इसका काम है इंक्रीमेंट करता है अकाउंट. ओके, नाउ व्हेन यू आर प्रेसिंग दिस बटन इट विल इंक्रीज 2 to 3, and if this is your state, now it should be displayed 3, right? So React will not ask you. React will directly check internally in its own library कि यार ये state change हुआ है क्या, ना state is changed, then it will directly render. So you will not be able to directly do some action and render it here. It has to change the state first and then it will has to render here. So React makes sure that the state is changed, then the rendering will happen. And in this way, it is one-way data binding.
अच्छा, so
We will also
मतलब
give you,
मतलब
हाँ,
मतलब if data is changed in the model, then only it will it will update the value in the DOM. If something changes in the DOM, it will not reflect in the model itself, right? That you are
yes,
what you are saying.
yes.
Okay.
So अभी कैसा होता है, आप अपना जावा स्क्रिप्ट के अंदर इफ यू आर राइटिंग समथिंग, इफ यू इफ यू आर जस्ट चेंजिंग से, आपने स्टू को कुछ तो एक डॉम डॉम नोड बोल दिया है, इसको बनाया है, और आपने वो डॉम नोड चेंज कर दिया, तो वो यहाँ पे चेंज हो जाएगा, राइट? आप वो चेंज करेंगे
हम्म
यहाँ पे, राइट?
हम्म
यहाँ पे ऐसा डायरेक्टली अगर आप वो करेंगे तो वैसा नहीं हो पाएगा। इफ यू विल डायरेक्टली चेंज से, आपने कॉन्स्ट रखा है यहाँ पे, कॉन्स्ट ने आपने एक वेरिएबल डाला है ए इक्वल टू 2 था यहाँ पे, ये इनिशियल, और उसको आपने
हम्म
समहाउ जेएस के अंदर चेंज कर दिया है एंड इट इज ए इक्वल टू 3,
हम्म
it will not render 3 on the page.
हम्म
You will have to use the React libraries. In React libraries, you have to define this A as a state. And then if
हम्म
this state is changed with this state change method, which React gives you, then only it will be rendering to the DOM, real DOM.
got it.
Until and unless you are not doing that, it will not render. So in this way, it is making sure that it is only one way data binding is there. It will not happen कि आपने कहीं पे कुछ भी चेंज किया, किधर से भी कुछ भी हो रहा है. So in this way, रेंडर हुआ, रेंडर होने के बाद वापस से ये यूजर के पास एक्शन के पूछेगा, एक्शन हुआ, स्टेट चेंज होगा, उसके बाद तो देयर इज ओनली सिंगल वन वे डेटा बाइंडिंग बेसिकली.
हम्म, got it.
ओके. So अभी even if few things might not be very clear, आप मेरे को बता देना, but we are just trying to get a very high level overview of the things today. Okay.
हम्म
So I'm not trying to go into the depth of each and every point. It is just to give you an idea कि React में क्या क्या चीजें हैं basically, so that you will have an idea, right?
हम्म हम्म
So next is a small learning curve. So we can debate on this. Let's leave it.
yeah yeah
Uh,
yeah
So can be used for mobile application. So one more thing I would like to mention here is, say
हम्म
we are currently trying to learn React. So what exactly is React? You have also heard
हम्म
React Native, right? What is React Native? Do you know?
see, React Native is actually उसका है मतलब दोनों का मतलब React Native and React has the same code base, but difference is in which platforms it works. Like उसका है कुछ है, उसका है कुछ अलग DOM है और इसका कुछ
हम्म,
अलग है. दोनों दोनों
हम्म,
अलग अलग टेक्नोलॉजी पे वो लोग मतलब काम करते हैं. मतलब it's not,
हाँ,
I'm not saying it is on mobile or it is web, I'm not saying that, but
हम्म,
how this UI works,
हम्म.
that is different actually.
Normally, I'll give you a proper idea about this. What happens is React, when we say React, React is your बेस लाइब्रेरी, जहां पे जो भी रिएक्ट के अंदर हमारा जो मेथोडोलॉजी है रिएक्ट की, दैट हैज बीन इम्प्लीमेंटेड इन रिएक्ट, राइट?
Hmm.
नाउ
Hmm.
the component structure which we are talking about, ki in FB, when they started with React, they thought about moving towards the component way of rendering things, or uh, decomposing your whole UI into different components. This was the whole thought about React, right? So now this
Hmm.
same thing can be done in the mobile. It can also be done in the web app. It can also be done, say, in a AR VR app, right? So it
Hmm.
is a way of coding, right? It is not that ये सिर्फ ये जो आपका मेथोडोलॉजी है, दिस विल ओनली वर्क फॉर मोबाइल, दिस विल नॉट वर्क फॉर वेब ऐप, ऐसा नहीं है, राइट? सो दिस मेन जो लाइब्रेरी है हमारी रिएक्ट, this is basically the one जहाँ पे component में डिकम्पोज करके जो यूआई को बनाना है, ये जो मेथडोलॉजी के लिए जितना भी सब कुछ जो लॉजिक लिखा गया है, जो जेएस लाइब्रेरी लिखी गई है, वो रिएक्ट है. अब इसके अंदर देर आर डिफरेंट एक्सटेंशंस टू इट. आई विल कॉल रिएक्ट नेटिव एज एक्सटेंशन ऑफ रिएक्ट. अब रिएक्ट नेटिव क्या है? रिएक्ट नेटिव इज अनदर एनपी is another module, I would say, or library. So what you can do,
Right.
you can directly go to npm, and here you can see React is one module which you can download, you can use it. Now if you will say React native, let's see if it is there. So यहाँ पे आपको ये दिख रहा है, this is by FB, React native. So
Right.
this is also one of the library. So this might have a React as a dependency. So this is a library which is depending on React, right?
Right.
So
Right.
this React Native is used basically for mobile application development, right? Then
Right.
there's something called as React DOM.
Right.
React DOM. Now React DOM is basically for web app. So I'll just take a moment. I'll just check React DOM. Yeah, yes, you can see that. So we have React DOM as well, right? So
Right.
we have this React DOM, right? So here it is very clear that these are different modules which you can also download, and this is for say web app. Something similar will be there for AR, VR, and then there could be different extensions to it, right? So I'm just giving you an idea that there could be different extension to this React, but what exactly we are currently learning is React, and then we will focus in our discussion basically on the React DOM as well. React Native will basically be for mobile development, right? So, okay, so this is clear, right? Okay. Now, let's talk about tools for easy debugging. So we can go to this a little bit later, but I will just give you a very basic idea. So what happens is when you are working on component, it is very difficult to see what exactly is happening because you only see one main component and everything is inside it, right? So it becomes a bit difficult to see it in your inspect element where you will see HTML, CSS, or JavaScript, right? So if you need to see in a similar way, what tool you can download is you can have this React debug tool, and there's a very nice plugin in for Google, basically Google Chrome. So maybe you can just take a note of it. So you also need to have this in your Chrome browser. So whenever you are running an React app locally, and if you need to do any kind of debugging, this could be really helpful because in your inspect element, you will see one more thing. How you can see profiler performance network, you will see one more thing which will be React. If you will click there, you will be able to see different components which are there. So you will be able to basically see your code in terms of React components. So it will help you in debugging the code. So now moving further, one more thing I would like to touch upon is how do you write code in React? So your normal JavaScript project normally looks like you have index.html, right? And then you write some CSS, and then you write some JavaScript in some index.javascript, right? This is how you write. So
Right.
when we are writing code in React, What React says is, I do not want to think about कि ये HTML है, ये JavaScript है, CSS है. I'm thinking about it as a component. अगर मेरे
Hmm.
वेबसाइट के अंदर, if this is one thing which I'm showing, this is a card where there's a picture and then there's some detail about this person, I'm thinking about this as a component. मुझे मतलब नहीं है कि इसमें HTML CSS ये सब क्या है. I will consider this as a component, right? So इसको
Hmm.
अगर हमें bind करना है, and if we need to write a code for this, normally the language or what exactly we use is not basically HTML or JS. We use something called as JSX. Now, this
Hmm.
is very high level idea that we use something else. What exactly it is? What is the advantage of this? Can we use or can we write code in React without using JSX? Yes, it is possible. What, so all the details which are there regarding JSX, we will be covering in a different one lecture. But right now, the whole idea is that in React, when we write code, we bind our HTML plus we
Hmm.
bind our JS, and then these two are written together in JSX. That is
Hmm.
called as JSX, and then that is how a React code is written.
Hmm.
Obviously, if you will ask me, if can we write a React code without using JSX? Yes, we can write, but it will be very difficult to interpret for any developer. So if you're working in a team, it will be very difficult if you will write code without
Hmm.
JSX. So it is preferred
Hmm.
that you write code in JSX always. So we will cover this in one whole one day topic. Is there on only on JSX, so you will get a better idea. But this is just to give you an idea that JSX is used for coding in React. Now, I think we have covered most of the topics. Testing tool is also covered. Yeah. Yeah. So the component part I will cover later. Right now, I just want to give you a brief idea about what React is. So in React, few of the things which we have currently seen is, we will just have a slight summary of this. We have seen about virtual DOM. We have also seen how virtual DOM can increase the speed or the performance of our website.
Hmm.
We have seen what is one-way data binding. We have also seen that components are reusable components and it helps us to make big apps, right? Uh,
Hmm.
Unidirectional flow of data. So this, I think we have left this. I will also touch upon this. So what exactly is unidirectional flow of data? So unidirectional flow of data is not one-way data binding. Unidirectional flow of data means in React, right? In React,
Hmm.
we have tree structure for our components. So say if this is one component, then there could be one component which is inside it, which is component number two, and then there could be some component which is component number three, and then this could be component four, and this is component number five. So this is your parent component, this is your child component, and these three are child component of this two, right? So this is one,
Right.
two, and then you have these three things like three,
Right.
four, and five. Now,
Right.
if we are writing in React, this is component one, component two, component three, four, five. So now, if you are passing anything from your
Hmm.
parent to your child, it is normally done with props,
Props. Right.
right? It is done with
Hmm.
props. So
Hmm.
you can pass props from your parent to your child.
Right.
So it will flow from parent to child, and then from here it will flow like this. So you, it is not intended, or the React is not defined in a way that you will go from here to here, and that is called as one way, and that is called as what unidirectional flow of data in React.
Hmm.
So you
Hmm.
normally pass on props from your parent to your child, and then from child you pass on to the child of that particular uh, component. like this. So that is what it's called as unidirectional flow of data in React. Uh, Apart from that, we have also seen that React Native, how they are related to each other. So this gives
Hmm.
a basic idea about what React is. Now
Right.
we can, so I think this is all clear now. According to me, now we can jump to the next part where I think you need to have, I will just give you an idea about how you can have your first React code running in your own computer. Have you already done that previously?
Mm, no, at this moment, but I know how to run it.
Okay, okay.
Hmm. I have
Because,
idea.
okay. So, can we just run an app directly then, if it is possible, at
No, not
in
no,
your
not
computer?
directly. Yeah, it is because my computer has latest version of Node.js, and if you have
Okay.
Node, then using your like npm install like g create React app,
Hmm.
using that you can create app, you can run it in with npm
Hmm.
start and those things.
Okay, okay. So, because what I want is, I would also uh, try to tell you something and then would like to change some code at your end, and then we will discuss that what change that you have noticed. So maybe not now. If you want, you can then in tomorrow's discussion, you can have this installed already, and at
Yeah,
least have the first bare bone app running from React Create app,
yeah, that
right?
that I will do. That I'll do.
Okay, and these are the steps for this. So you normally have to create your own one folder in which you
Hmm.
will have to do npm install create React app, and
Yeah.
then create React app, npx create React app. My
Hmm.
React project will create a new
Hmm.
directory for your project, and then in this,
Right.
once you will go inside this particular project and then do npm start, it will start your project.
Right.
Okay.